Good morning. Welcome to Conversations Matter with me, Heather Criswell. In this episode, I want to talk to you just briefly about a conversation that didn't even include me, which is hard for me because I want to open my mouth everywhere I go and say what I want to say. But I actually just dropped my son off and stopped by this coffee shop, and they weren't open, so I was sitting outside, and there was 3 other people sitting outside having a big conversation, and it was not heated, but very intense and very passionate. And as I started listening more and more to the conversation, because that's what I do, I'm nosy Rosie, and I was listening to the conversation, and they were talking about teachers. And I thought it's so funny because this has been a big topic of discussion with my friends, especially my dear friend Felicia that's opening a school, Project Confetti Kids, for basically a hybrid school. She worked in the district and it wasn't working for her. And that's what these teachers were, I assume they were teachers, but they were talking about how it's not working for them and what can they do? How can they rally? How can they change things? And they were fairly young, but I loved the idea that they were so passionate about it. It reminded me of me when I was in my 20s. I was like, I'm going to change everything. And the beauty of it is it was a very diverse group, and they were all talking very passionately. And at times I'd look over like, are they angry or is that just their tone? But they were just passionate. And then they look at each other and they'd say, no, because this. And the other one would say, yeah, but no, this. And I started laughing because I was so happy to see that conversations were taking place, and hard conversations like we don't pay our teachers enough, and conversations that our schools are broken, and that we aren't servicing our kids in ways that they need in this generation. So they were having all these really difficult conversations, but doing it so beautifully. And I just had a moment where I was so proud to hear these conversations taking place, and nobody was angry at each other. They were just passionately talking about how do we change this for the better. And that's what I love about conversations, especially rooted in love. When we stay strong in love for ourselves first and for each other, then we can have these conversations, these hard conversations, and actually change things. And I promise that these people at this table, they will be change makers. They will be change makers on this planet. The one thing I will say is the girl said something that really just was like chalk on nails on a chalkboard, which they probably don't even use that analogy anymore because they don't have chalkboards. They have whiteboard erasers and projectors and stuff. But she said one thing. She says, well, nobody goes into education for money. And I challenge us all to think differently about that. I challenge us all to say that we deserve to make money in education. And I promise you, if we paid our teachers $200,000, $300,000, whatever. If we paid our teachers, I promise you, there would be a different school system. There would be different outputs of our education. There would be different experiences for children and for teachers and for parents and for administration if we paid our people what they're worth, because these are the people that are really genuinely shaping the rest of our lives, literally. And I say that as an early education provider, owning a preschool for nearly a decade. Those years are so important, and if we could just put some money behind our teachers, our students, our administration, our families, we would have a different life. Everything would change. So thank you all for listening to that and listening to me, because it was so hard for me to keep it all bottled up. I had to be quiet. So I got to tell you, but I am, number one, so grateful that these conversations are taking place. And I know that these are going to be change makers on the planet. And I encourage you to, and invite you to have those hard conversations, whether it's about education, politics, religion. We're always taught, don't talk about it. But what if we started talking about it rooted in love? rooted in love. That changes everything. So I love you all so much. Remember, you can subscribe to my channel, Heather Criswell, on YouTube, and see more of these if you like. I so appreciate you showing up. And remember, conversations matter, and conversations rooted in love change everything. Love you guys. Mwah. Bye.